You know, schizophrenia affecting millions of Americans, though still widely misunderstood. And for many families now thrust into the middle of this, it comes down to a day-to-day journey of learning how to care for somebody they love. Let's talk more about this now with Erin Crown, a healthcare professional specializing in schizophrenia care. Erin, good morning, and thank you for your time.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what's this diagnosis and treatment journey look like for somebody who gets diagnosed with schizophrenia?
I think that's very individual. I think it looks different for each person who's going through it, but there are some similarities that we can rely upon as evidence that someone may be struggling and what to do. So, you know, it can start with some bizarre behaviors. Schizophrenia really is a disorder that impacts the way an individual thinks, feels, and behaves or acts. And it's a chronic condition that can be pretty debilitating, but with resources like Homeground HCZ, where we can connect people to community and to access to resources within their zip code, and for resources, legal supports, and other types of support access through homegroundschz.com, care partners can find support as well. So it often starts with a hospitalization or an emergency room visit, but there are also times as we educate our communities about the illness and about the importance of early treatment and community-related treatment, that sometimes we can identify it and get it treated even before a hospitalization ever takes place.
How underdiagnosed do you think this is if you're relying on folks in many cases to come forward for a diagnosis themselves sometimes?
I don't know that I think that it's underdiagnosed per se, but I think that what does happen is the duration of untreated psychosis can go on for a pretty long time. An average DUP, or duration of untreated psychosis, can be as long as 2 years for many people, and can start very early in middle school or high school, or even in early college years for people. And this is the time where people, because of stigma or because of a lack of a vocabulary to understand what's going on, and therefore to relay their symptoms to a trusted person in their life. There can be secrecy. Maybe they don't understand what's going on, or they're afraid of sharing what's going on because it can feel bizarre to experience as well. So I think it's that duration of untreated psychosis that is a bigger problem than underdiagnosis. Once someone reaches a point of pretty severe psychosis, it's hard to miss, and people usually either wind up with that severity either in the hospital or incarcerated potentially.
Interesting. Thank you for clearing that up. Do you find that there's an age range for diagnosis? Is it typically early on in life, or does it kind of run the gamut?
No, it doesn't really run the gamut. It's usually earlier, again, early, mid to late teens or early 20s. There are some people who don't present with symptoms and get a diagnosis until their late 20s or even early 30s. But early 30s would certainly be on the older end of the spectrum of beginning to experience symptoms and getting a diagnosis of schizophrenia. But again, for people who do experience symptoms of psychosis, or for a care partner or a school professional or a church member who begins to witness some bizarre behaviors in someone that they've known well and they just aren't seeming their usual self, homegroundschz.com is a great resource to go to learn more about it and connect to others, and to get some information about where they might go to try and have an individual evaluated.
Okay, thank you for giving us that website. Can you just walk us through finally what the day-to-day care looks like for families, and any other final parting thoughts for them as they navigate this journey?
Yeah, so again, different for every family. I have people on my caseload that graduate college with bachelor, masters, and even PhDs and go on to have very successful, productive professional lives. But those are the people who end up with care partners, community supports, and are utilizing resources such as homegroundhcz.com. And then there are others who, by the time they're 30 or 40 or 50, and even sometimes younger, have burned the bridges, so to speak, and are relying on community supports such as case managers and clinicians and therapists for their support networks because they didn't have early treatment and they didn't have resources at the time of their diagnosis, such as homegroundhcz.com, to rely upon for those supports, education, and community.
Erin Crown, I appreciate your time this morning. Hope you have a good one. Thank you.
My pleasure. You as well.